Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm going to go over my most underrated teams heading into the 2021 NFL season. But before we get into that topic, question for those of you viewing: who do you think is the most overrated team in the 2021 heading into the 2021 NFL season? Comment down below and I'll reveal my answer at the end. But getting straight into it, these are two kind of honorable mentions, but I do think they're worth mentioning: Miami Dolphins and Los Angeles Chargers. I do think they finally got their recognition as of possibly being a wild card team next year, but I think they are both underrated in the sense that a lot of people think they will make a wild card spot, but I think they're underrated in the sense that they will win the division. I'm not saying they will, but I feel like a lot of people blow them off and think they're just going to be an automatic wild card and have no chance of actually running the division. Dolphins have no chance of running over the Bills, and the Chargers have no chance of running over the Chiefs. But I think both of them have a pretty good shot. Looking at the Chargers, obviously, going up against Patrick Mahomes, it's not going to be easy, but Justin Herbert already becoming a top 10 talent in his rookie year. He could be like Patrick Mahomes, and in his second year automatically be MVP, automatically be number one. We don't know what the possibilities are for the Chargers, and I think Justin Herbert getting a better O-line, getting a better head coach, and getting a defense that's just healthy, I think they could go on par with the Chiefs. They split it with the Chiefs last year, and even the second game, they're really close with them. And that Chargers team was not put together last game. I mean, it was Justin Herbert's first game. The defense isn't healthy. Now this year, all that's going to change. And I'm not saying the Chargers are going to overcome the Chiefs, but I definitely think they're underrated and have a great chance of possibly doing it. And then same thing goes for the Dolphins. Different situation. I don't think we're going to be relying on the quarterback and Tua Tagovailoa to take down Josh Allen, but the roster around Tua Tagovailoa has a pretty good roster that it might have a better head-to-toe, top-to-bottom roster than the Bills, arguably. I mean, Dolphins had a great draft, getting Liam Eichenberg, getting Jalen Waddle, getting Jalen Phillips, getting Javon Holland. And then outside of that, you have Starks, Power, and Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, Xavier Howard, we know how good he is, Andrew Van Ginkel, Emmanuel Ogbah, Christian Wilkins, Byron Jones. You signed Jason McCourty. That Dolphins team has a great roster, top to bottom, head to toe. But the biggest question mark is Tua Tagovailoa. Again, both of these teams, I don't think they're underrated anymore. I think we'll all think they're going to be a playoff team next year, but I think they're underrated because I think they both have a decent chance at actually being a playoff team that wins a division and gets a home game, but we'll just have to see. Who knows? But heading into the first one, the first serious one, Jacksonville Jaguars, I think a lot of people underrate them in possibly winning the division, and I know the entire roster is new. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Urban Meyer. A lot of this team is new, and you're going to be relying on a bunch of rookies to come together and possibly win a division or run for the playoffs. But just looking at their division is why I think they're underrated. Texans, assuming Deshaun Watson does not play, is free falling. That's an automatic. I want to say it's not a contender for the Jaguars, but I think the Jaguars can easily handle a Texans team that doesn't have Deshaun Watson. And then it comes down to the Colts and Titans. Look, I'm extremely bullish on the Colts this year. I think the Colts are one of the best teams in the NFL with Carson Wentz. But there is a hefty chance he either is A, gets hurt because he's very injury prone, or B, he does exactly what he did last year. Maybe the Eagles were correct and maybe they should have moved off him. Maybe that what happened last year, it wasn't a fluke. I think it was a fluke, and I think he will be healthy. But if Carson Wentz goes down like a lot of people think he will, and Carson Wentz is bad like a lot of people think he is, all of a sudden the Jaguars are in a two-man race for the division, them and against Derrick Henry carrying the Titans. And all of a sudden this Jaguars team might be able to go toe-to-toe with a Tennessee Titans team that really is run-centric offense. And if you could stop Derrick Henry, you could stop the Titans. I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is automatically better than Ryan Tannehill, but I'm just saying this Jaguars team isn't bad. You got Trevor Lawrence, you have a great backfield, and James Robinson, Travis Etienne, Carlos Hyde. Those are three pretty darn good running backs. Looking at the receiving core, Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones Jr., a mix of youth and veteranship. That's a great receiving core. And you might even, at this rate, we don't know, you might have Tim Tebow to throw to on the Jacksonville Jaguars at the tight end position. This Jaguars team is very interesting on offense. Defense, it's not the greatest team, but the foundation is there. You got Josh Allen up front on the defensive line, Miles Jackson captaining the front seven. In the secondary, you added Shaquille Griffin, CJ Henderson will hopefully be good coming back from injury. You drafted Tyson Campbell. The foundation is there. This Jaguars team, like I said, I'm not saying it's going to be a Super Bowl team. I'm not saying it's even going to be a playoff team. But if the AFC South starts to shake up, Texans are free falling like we expect them to do. Carson Wentz is a bust. He's still a turnover machine. And all of a sudden it's in a two-man race. This Jaguars team, I think, is a little bit underrated, and we could see them squeeze out. To me, their cap for the wins this season to 17 games is 10 wins, and that is the absolute maximum ceiling. I don't see them getting higher than that, and I don't see them reaching that. But if they do somehow reach 8, 9, 10 wins, and like I said, facing a Tennessee Titans that lost Corey Davis, lost Jonnu Smith, lost their offensive coordinator, lost Adoree Jackson, lost Malcolm Butler, we could see the Jaguars take down the Titans, and I do think they're a little bit underrated. We'll have to see. In my opinion, I think the Colts are winning the division, but if, like a lot of people that I'm going against are right, and Carson Wentz does turn out to be a bad quarterback or gets hurt, then I think it gets very interesting in that division. I think the Jaguars have an underrated chance. Moving on to the next one, Carolina Panthers with Sam Darnold. I think a lot of people, same thing as me with Carson Wentz, are against Sam Darnold. I think he is a bust. The Jets were right. They should have got rid of him. I think Sam Darnold now in Carolina is going to turn his career around. Everything that happened in his career with the Jets is now better and changed for the better in Carolina. He's got a better offensive line, better backfield. You're going from Frank Gore to Christian McCaffrey. I don't know if there's a better upgrade in that backfield in the NFL. Receiving core, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall Jr., familiar Robbie Anderson. Coaching staff, you have Joe Brady and Matt Rule, much better than Adam Gase. And the defense Sam Darnold has to rely on is better as well. You got Shaq Thompson, Denzel Perryman, Hassan Reddick, Jeremy Chin, J.C. Horn, A.J. Boye. This Panthers team is very underrated. I don't think they're going to take down the Bucs, but I like this Panthers team to possibly make the playoffs in 2021. I think they could get a wild card spot, but it all depends on Sam Darnold. But I believe in him, and I think with a right team, he's going to turn his career around and prove the people wrong that he wasn't a bust and the Jets made a mistake. Not to say Zach Wilson won't have his own talent, won't be a great guy, but I do think Sam Darnold is a great quarterback as well. I don't think either of them will be a bust. I think they'll both turn out to be pretty good. I'm just saying, I don't think Sam Darnold should have been shipped off and just traded for nothing. I think in the future, we're going to see he's worth a lot more than just a couple mid-round picks. And I think this Panthers team could seriously make it to the playoffs in 2021 as a wildcard spot. Again, they're not taking down the Bucs to me, but I just think this roster is great on offense and on defense and is being managed well by Matt Rule. Now that he has an extra year in the NFL under his belt, he's not a rookie coach anymore. I think this Panthers team is going to be very serious and is underrated. I mean, last year they only had 5 wins. This year, I think they could double it possibly. Next one, Minnesota Vikings. Another roster that I really like head to toe. They executed the NFL offseason and free agency and the draft. You got Christian Darrisaw, a pretty good steal in the first round. You've loaded up in the third round with, I think, 4 picks, one of them being Kellen Mond. That's a different topic. That's a different video to talk about. But looking at the Vikings' current roster and the starting guys, Kirk Cousins at quarterback, above-average quarterback, offensive line, like I said, you addressed Christian Darrisaw, a steal in the first round. You have a big left tackle to protect him. Receiving core, we know how good Justin Jefferson is. Adam Thielen, Irv Smith Jr. Looking at the defense, you added Patrick Peterson in the offseason to help out Harrison Smith. And then in the linebacker core and linebacker duo, you got Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr. That would be one of the best duos in the NFL when it comes to linebacker duos. Daniel Hunter and Dalvin Tomlinson up front. This is a very good Vikings team when it is healthy. Last year, they went 7-9, and they were a very injury-prone team. This year, I think being a healthy team, we're going to see a lot of wins out of this Minnesota Vikings team. And Aaron Rodgers is there or not, I think they have a chance at winning the division, especially when you got Dalvin Cook, the workhorse in the backfield. He stole a game for the Packers by himself pretty much last year. Now that he's got a defense to rely on too, I seriously think this Vikings team is underrated and could be a playoff team as well. I like possibly, everyone thinks NFC West, we're going to see 4 teams come out of the playoffs in there. I think these other teams that are going to finish second in the division, like the Vikings and Panthers, are going to give those NFC West teams a run for the final 3 wildcard spots. And then the last one, the NFC East. I seriously think the Cowboys, Giants, and Washington, almost all those teams in a sense are underrated because to me, I don't think we're going to see an NFC East team come out of there again and be below 500. I think we're going to see whoever comes out of this division be a serious contender. Maybe not a Super Bowl contender, but not a playoff team you just laugh at and just assume they're going to go home in the first round. Eagles, I'm not bullish on them in the slightest sense. I think they'll be one of the worst teams in the NFL. But looking at the Washington football team and the New York football Giants, again, just like the Dolphins, a head-to-toe roster, they have some of the best ones. Daniel Jones has Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, and then a good defense to rely on with Adoree Jackson, James Bradbury, Leonard Williams being the lead guys on that defense and the Washington football team as well. I don't know who's starting at quarterback, but whoever it is, you have a good team to help you out. Decent offensive line, especially after they tag Brandon Scherf. You have Antonio Gibson in the backfield. Receiving core, Terry McLaurin signed Curtis Samuel. You got Logan Thomas on the defense. You signed William Jackson. They're looking at Bobby McCain. But even outside of him, you got Kendall Fuller. You have Landon Collins up front. One of the best defensive lines in the NFL with Daron Payne, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen. This is a great Washington team and a great Giants team head to toe. But the quarterback situation is such a big question mark. We don't know. I think between one of those teams, a good quarterback will come out. And then looking at the Cowboys, they're kind of opposite. Their quarterback, easily the best in the division. But roster-wise on defense, there's some question marks. I like Micah Parsons and Jayla Smith and DeMarcus Lawrence, and they address the secondary. They address the entire defense in the rest of the draft, but still, you're going to be asking a lot of young guys and a lot of overpaid guys and Jalen Smith and DeMarcus Lawrence to be doing a lot and carrying the team. On offense, they have big names in Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper, but they're not getting big production. So roster-wise, I'm concerned about the Cowboys, but quarterback-wise, I'm concerned about the Giants and Washington. But all three, I do think are underrated because I think we're going to see a serious playoff contender emerge out of this division. Again, there's no way in my mind we're going to see a below 500 playoff team again. I just think all of these teams in the NFC East, besides the Eagles, have made massive upgrades all around, and I like each and single one of them. I just don't know who's going to be emerging as a top team because I don't know what Daniel Jones is going to be. I think if he's like Sam Darnold and turns his career around, this Giants team is going to be one of the best ones in the NFL, especially in the upcoming years after Dave Gettleman made a lot of trades to acquire a bunch of draft capital in the future. Washington, if they could find a quarterback in the future years, they have a great roster as well. I just think all of these teams are underrated, and we're going to see a serious playoff team emerge out of them. But as always, guys, I do want to hear your opinion. Who do you think was the most underrated on this list, and do you agree or disagree with this list? And as always, guys, who is the most overrated team, referring back to the question of the day, in the NFL to you guys? To me, it's the Tennessee Titans, but I do want to hear your guys' opinions. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. 2-minute warning.